What's going on YouTube, it's Jason, and today we're going to speak about how to lose stubborn body fat. Now it doesn't matter whether you've been training for 1 year or 10 years, we all know what it's like to diet down and get down to that last little bit of body fat that doesn't seem to go no matter what we do. I've been there myself in the past. It's incredibly frustrating, and it's at this point that most people give up. But fear not, I'm going to give you 5 ways to shift that stubborn body fat and attain a much leaner physique. The first point, and this might sound like a really obvious point, but get leaner. The amount of times I see people diet down to a certain body fat and they diet down to that same body fat each and every time and then get frustrated when their stubborn body fat remains. Now this is really important because we don't all store body fat in the same places. For example, someone's problem area might be their triceps, or bingo wings as people like to call them, or someone else's might be their obliques or love handles. Now where we store stubborn fat on our bodies is going to be linked to genetics, but the key thing to remember is that the stubborn fat, wherever you store it, is going to be the last to go. So back to my main point about getting leaner, if you're dieting down and that stubborn body fat remains, the key is to keep going. Now I know I said that we all store body fat in different places, and because of body fat distribution and genetics, 2 people can be exactly the same body fat and still look different. But all of that being said, as a rule of thumb, the closer men get towards 15% body fat and the closer women get towards 25% body fat, the less stubborn fat they're likely to hold. Moving on to point number 2, and this is kind of linked to point number 1, but stop holding on to arbitrary numbers. By far, the biggest mistake I see people make is set random weight loss goals. Let's say somebody's 80 kilos and they say they want to lose 10 kilos. Most people will get down to 70 kilos, and regardless of how they look at the end, they'll just stop there and say they've hit their weight loss goal. But what did you actually lose? Did you lose some of that weight in muscle? And what does your body composition look like at the end? Going back to my example, if you got down to 70 kilos and that stubborn body fat remains, the key is to keep going until that body fat goes. One thing to be aware of is that weight is made up of muscle, bone, fat, and water. So when you lose weight on the scale, it could be any one of those 4 things. So people often make the mistake of targeting weight loss, but what they actually want to focus on is fat loss. By the way, that's not to say that your weight doesn't matter. I hear a lot of people say weight doesn't matter when they don't like what they see on the scale. It does matter, but it's not the be all and end all. What we need is context. The way we get this context is by using other forms of measurement in addition to the scale. So things like measuring your waist, trying on the same pair of jeans or dress, and looking at yourself in the mirror. All of these things matter. The third thing you can do to lose stubborn body fat is to consume more whole foods. One of the big mistakes I see people make over and over again is they just focus on calories in versus calories out, and when they try and lose fat, they just eat less of the same rubbish. If you're just eating less of the same processed foods that made you gain weight, as I said, you may end up losing a lot of your weight in muscle. Yes, to lose body fat, you do need to reduce your calorie intake, but you also want to increase your nutrient quality. Upping your fiber intake so you're consuming between 20 and 30 grams, and increasing your protein intake so you're consuming 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. One of the often overlooked points is that the foods that we consume can actually help us with burning more calories. When it comes to fat loss, people often focus on exercise as the main way to burn calories. But believe it or not, exercise only contributes a small percentage of what we burn in a day. Something called the thermic effect of food, which is the calories your body burns actually breaking down a food group, actually contributes to your calorie burn. Protein has a really high thermic effect. You can actually burn 20 to 30% of the calories you consume just breaking down the protein. So it's a bit of a fat loss cheat code if you like. By bumping up your protein, you can burn hundreds if not thousands of extra calories per week. Number 4, and this often catches people out, it definitely caught me out in the past, but address emotional eating. Now I know we assume that emotional eating is when someone is upset and is crying themselves to sleep eating ice cream. Yes, that's one way emotional eating manifests, but emotional eating is simply eating for reasons other than hunger. This could be things like boredom, tiredness, stress, or anger. The thing to be aware of here is that when we emotional eat, it's often done unconsciously. So we meticulously plan all our calories for the week and do all of our meal prep, but the emotional eating calories that often add on to our daily intake often isn't factored in. So when a person is losing fat and their fat loss plateaus, they often get confused because they think they're consuming a certain amount of calories. But the emotional eating calories is adding to your overall intake, so most of the time people end up at maintenance. If you're at maintenance, the vast majority of people will not be losing body fat. Not efficiently anyway. And the final point is to be patient. We live in a world now where everything is instant. Messaging, meals, and even deliveries. I can hop on Amazon right now and get same-day delivery. We kind of bring that same attitude and mindset to our fat loss journey. And it just doesn't work. People are so impatient and are so desperate to see quick results, they end up taking shortcuts, and it actually takes them 2 steps forward but 3 back. We mustn't forget that our bodies are built to survive. So if you're trying to lose fat too aggressively, all the alarm bells go off in your body starts to think you're starving, and it will literally try and resist you. As in, send your hormones out of whack, you'll feel tired and fatigued, and you'll probably start to get irritable. How long do you think you can keep at a fat loss journey when all of those things are going on? Not very long. And that's why I recommend to clients to stay within the healthy recommended guidelines for fat loss. That is 0.5 to 1 kilo of fat loss per week. Remember, you didn't gain the weight overnight, so you won't lose it overnight either. And the final thing under the patient's umbrella is unrealistic expectations. People often think they're leaner than they actually are. For example, I see a lot of men say they're 15% body fat just because in their minds, someone who is 10% body fat has abs, when in reality, they're more like 20 or 25% body fat. Therefore, when they start to lose body fat and expect to see definition a lot sooner, they're a lot further away than they actually think. So to manage expectations and keep your head in the game, make sure your starting body fat guesstimates are actually right. So that's everything. Implement these 5 strategies, and as long as you are consistent, I guarantee you'll break through plateaus and achieve your goal physique. Hope you enjoyed that video and found it helpful. Don't forget to like it, comment below for the algorithm, please subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.